Good evening, I'm Cynthia Ng and you are tuning in to AWANI Tonight. Health Ministry to ensure fair and transparent investigations into alleged bullying in hospital. And a closer look at the ASEAN-US summit in Washington. Where are the bright spots for Malaysia? That's coming up. The list of doctors allegedly involved in bullying a houseman at Penang Hospital included specialist doctors. Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin said the ministry's integrity unit are conducting further investigations into those allegations, while a special task force will be set up. Khairi said the list of members of the independent task force will be announced on Friday, adding that he will not chair the task force. Khairi added the 5 doctors named in the alleged bullying case would carry out their duties as normal while investigations are ongoing. The Health Ministry agreed to set up a task force following the death of a 25-year-old houseman on April 17th. He had only been posted to Penang Hospital 3 weeks earlier. Khairi promised that investigations will be transparent and fair to all parties. Police have arrested the driver of a trailer to assist in investigations into a fatal accident involving another trailer and a car this morning. In the incident on the North-South Expressway, 5 university students were burnt to death when their car caught fire after colliding with the 2 trailers. Perak police said a 28-year-old man was detained to assist in investigations in the incident that occurred around 1:45 a.m. The 5 victims were identified as students of University Sultan Azlan Shah, who were returning to their campus in Kuala Kangsar after a holiday in Ipoh. Their car collided with a 20-ton trailer laden with metal fences and another trailer carrying mosaic tiles. The students died at the scene, but the 3 men who boarded the 2 trailers escaped uninjured. Malaysia is set to host the 2027 SEA Games. The Olympic Council of Malaysia shared the good news today after Southeast Asia Games Federation unanimously awarded the hosting of the 34th Games to Malaysia. This will be the 7th time Malaysia will host the regional games. It last did so in 2017. Cambodia will be hosting the 32nd SEA Games next year, while Thailand will host the 33rd edition in 2025. The 31st SEA Games is currently underway in Hanoi, Vietnam, after it was delayed from 2021 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. A total of 11 countries are battling it out in 40 different sports between now and May 23rd. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob today rolled out the red carpet for American investors in a bid to present Malaysia as a preferred investment destination. He welcomed them, including reps from Fortune 500 companies, to invest in Malaysia's digital economy and green technology. During the meeting, Sabri had also suggested for Tesla to invest in Malaysia in the production of electric cars. Malaysia is the US's second largest trade partner in ASEAN after Vietnam. He was speaking to Malaysian journalists after meeting Ambassador Ted Osius, President and CEO of the US-ASEAN Business Council in Washington. The Prime Minister, who arrived in the US on Wednesday, is on a 4-day working visit, during which he would meet with President Joe Biden and ASEAN leaders. The US and ASEAN Leaders Summit comes at a most critical time amidst a major crisis in Europe and rising global inflation. How should Malaysia position itself against the backdrop of increasing volatility? We speak to CEO of ISIS Malaysia, Harizal Hazri, in Washington, D.C.
I cannot think of a situation that is similar to this in any recent times in the past. And because of that, countries in Southeast Asia, particularly Malaysia, has to really focus on new growth areas where we can participate as an economy, not just to expand the opportunities for Malaysia to grow, but as well as to grow better in a more sustainable world, so that we can contribute as well to other countries in the Southeast Asian region, especially in the areas of climate change, the usage of new technology to address some critical development issues, looking at how the United States of America and Malaysia, as well as ASEAN countries, can play a positive role, looking at the future of the labour force, looking at how we can develop new talents and new areas to, again, address these critical challenges and to come up with innovative solutions for the future.
We'll continue after the break. Stay with us. Welcome back. North Korea has declared a national emergency after confirming its first outbreak of COVID-19, prompting leader Kim Jong-un to order tighter border controls and lockdown measures. The country has never admitted to any case since the pandemic began more than 2 years ago. But many believe the virus has long been present. State media KCNA reported an Omicron outbreak in the capital Pyongyang, but did not state the number of cases. The nation's 25 million population remain vulnerable, as North Korea has declined to administer any vaccine to fight the virus. Last year, the country rejected offers from the international community to supply millions of AstraZeneca and Sinovac vaccines to its population. This raises fears of a humanitarian crisis in one of the world's only unvaccinated countries as it goes into a nationwide lockdown. South Korea's government said it has renewed its offer of humanitarian assistance to the north in response to the news of the outbreak. Finland's leaders have called for the country to apply for NATO membership without delay. In a joint statement, President Sauli Niinisto and Prime Minister Sanna Marin said they expected a decision in the next few days. Kremlin, in response to the news, meanwhile, says that Finland joining NATO is definite threat to Russia. The move comes amid a surge in public support for NATO membership following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Finland shares a 1,300-kilometer border with Russia. And until now, it has stayed out of NATO to avoid antagonizing its eastern neighbor. Finland will formally announce its decision on Sunday after it has been considered by Parliament and other senior political figures. Sweden has said it will announce a similar decision on the same day. Ukraine announced that it will hold its first war crimes trial over the Russian invasion. Ukraine's Prosecutor General Irina Venediktova said that her office has charged and captured 21-year-old Russian soldier in connection with the killing of an elderly civilian who was gunned down while riding a bicycle. Russian Sergeant Vadim Sishimarin faces possible life imprisonment if found guilty. Venediktova's office said it has been investigating more than 10,700 war crimes committed by Russian forces and has identified over 600 suspects. Many of the alleged atrocities came to light last month after Russia aborted its attempt to capture Kiev. Mass graves and bodies were found in towns outside of the capital like Bucha, where residents told of killings, burnings, rape and torture incidents. The United Nations Human Rights Council is to hold a special session on Ukraine on Thursday. The arrest of a 90-year-old cardinal under Hong Kong's national security law has triggered international outrage. Joseph Zen, one of the most senior Catholic clerics in Asia, was among a group of veteran democracy advocates arrested on Wednesday for colluding with foreign forces. The arrest of Zen, an outspoken critic of China's Communist Party, raised concerns that a wider net would be cast over religious institutions accused of having foreign ties. He was arrested with opposition leader Margaret Ng, singer Dennis Ho, and academic Ho Pui-kyung. The four were detained for their involvement in a fund that provided financial and legal aid for pro-democracy protesters. The Vatican said it was concerned by Zen's detention, while the US, EU, Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International condemned the arrest. The United States Embassy recently released its human rights report detailing some of the human rights abuses in the country. And this includes forced labor allegations, custodial deaths, discrimination, and corruption. Here to discuss more on the report is Dan Wright, Deputy Political Counselor from the U.S. Embassy in Malaysia.
In that report, you'll see issues like death in custody. You'll see issues like media freedom, freedom of assembly, freedom of association, discrimination, including against those who identify themselves as LGBTIQ+. You see issues like corruption highlighted in the report, and again, freedom of association. And one of the issues that we'd love to highlight today, and one that's been in the media a lot, is forced labor and trafficking in persons issues. You know, forced labor is a priority for the United States government. It's been a priority for our president, for our secretary, and of course for our ambassador here, and thus for our embassy. And so we have worked very hard with the Malaysian government to work on forced labor and trafficking issues. We work together to address these issues, but then also work on some training for law enforcement officials here to ensure that they're able to identify forced labor conditions, trafficking conditions.
According to Dan, one way to improve human rights condition in the country is through the strengthening of civil societies.
Having a robust civil society can help actually governments address these issues by being the eyes and the ears on the ground to report cases of human rights abuses that we in the government might not see. And a great example here in Malaysia is Malaysia's Human Rights Commission, SUHAKEM. SUHAKEM has investigated human rights abuses here and reported publicly on those human rights abuses. And really, it's a key part for governments to work together with civil society, to not see civil society as their enemy, but as a partner in both identifying and then also addressing human rights abuses.
Human rights abuses are sometimes perpetrated by governments. This is why it is crucial to keep global pressure on the abusers. Governments
that are serial abusers of human rights around the world become pariahs in the international community and get set apart from the international community. You have the UN Security Council imposing sanctions on some of those countries. You also have individual countries imposing sanctions. The United States has imposed sanctions along with other countries against Russia more recently because of their unjustified invasion and war against Ukraine. The United States has also imposed sanctions against the People's Republic of China for the abuses that are ongoing in Xinjiang against the Uyghur people. And these are some of the risks that governments face when they abuse the civil rights of the human rights of their citizens and their neighbors. In one great way that actually Malaysia is already doing a lot in this sphere is their recent election to the UN Human Rights Council. They joined the United States for the 2022 to 2024 term, and the Human Rights Council is a great place for countries to work together, right, to highlight abuses not just in their own countries but around the world. And we look forward to partnering with Malaysia and working together on the Human Rights Council to advance human rights.
And that is all we have for you on AWANI Tonight. I'm Cynthia Ng. Thank you for watching.